Today's video is brought to you by the subscribe button and the notification bell. Don't forget to click both of them down below. Hey, what's up guys? Joker here, and I hope you're all doing well and had a good Memorial Day weekend if you happen to be from America. Today we've got a few news stories to get through in the world of tech and gaming. Of course, we're going to be discussing some stuff coming out of Computex. First up, we're going to be talking about AMD, who had their big announcement for Navi as well as the Zen 2 Ryzen 3000 series of processors, bringing in things like PCIe Gen 4. However, there was one particular CPU missing in action during that presentation, and that was the rumored 16-core Ryzen 9 CPU, which has been rumored ever since late 2018, which immediately had the internet crying foul, saying that the original source of that, Adored TV, was wrong, although he was actually right on a lot more things than he was wrong about. I mean, there was a couple of minor things that were off as far as clock speeds and things were concerned, but if you think about it, he was the first person to ever say that there was going to be a Ryzen 9 series and that there was going to be more than 8 cores. He was right about the fact that there was 12 cores. Some of the clock speeds, I said, were off by a little bit. But the 16-core was missing in action, so a lot of people were upset about that. However, we almost immediately got confirmation that 16-core Ryzen 9 is still coming. AMD just hasn't done a full reveal of it at this point in time. It was immediately confirmed by Steve over at Gamers Nexus that the 16-core does exist, and now we have confirmation that there was even a benchmark running behind the scenes after the main presentation on stage of that 16-core Ryzen 9 CPU, which I'm guessing we're probably going to get some information on at a later date, probably at E3 would be my personal best guess, as they are going to be doing a tech day during E3 or just prior to E3 2019, so I'm pretty sure we're going to get some more information either at that point or before the actual launch of Ryzen 3000, which is in just July, so it's not that much further away. So in regards to this leaked benchmark and maybe why we didn't see it on stage that day, I mean, I think it also has a lot to do with the fact that Threadripper hasn't really gotten a reveal yet, and it was actually pulled from the roadmap. So Lisa Su was actually asked about this, and she said, I don't think that we ever said that Threadripper was not going to continue. It somehow took on a life of its own on the internet, said Su to PC World, and she said, you will see more Threadripper from us. You will definitely see more. So Threadripper is not going away. It is going to come back, but that also might be the reason why they kind of held back on showing off the 16-core. As she went on to say, if mainstream is moving up, then Threadripper will have to move up, which totally makes sense. Obviously, if they're going to be doing 12 cores and 16 cores now on the mainstream, Threadripper is going to have to move up as well, and I don't think it's inconceivable at all for their top-end SKU to have 4 16-core chiplets. As we know, they can do at least 2 16-core chiplets on just a Ryzen CPU, so Threadripper would conceivably be able to do 4 of those 16-core chiplets, giving us a total of 64 cores and 128 threads on the top-end Threadripper SKU before we start getting into things like Epic. So that benchmark, which was running on Cinebench R15 for the 16-core 32-threaded Ryzen, was running at 4.25 gigahertz, and we can see in CPU Z that the voltage was actually pretty high on it, but it was running on a water cooler. That was confirmed, and the core voltage here you can see is running at 1.572 volts, and it is a 7-nanometer part, and you can see there 4.25 gigahertz. The end-up score on it ended up being 4,346, and there was a leaked benchmark earlier in the week that showed it at 4,278, so it wasn't far off from that at all. It's kind of within the margin of error as far as multi-threaded tests are concerned. So 4,000, what was it, 4,000, I lost track here, 4,346, so it got 4,346, so where does that line up with the previous generation Threadripper, where there was a 16-core 32-thread, which can run up around 4.1, 4.2 gigahertz. That CPU would get around 3,200 on the multi-threaded test of Cinebench R15, which means going from 3,200 up to 4,300 is roughly a 35% performance improvement at nearly the same clock speeds on the same exact test. So we're looking at a 35% uplift on that same test, going just from, Ryzen 2950X up to this Ryzen 9 rumor part, which we don't know the name of yet. The 12-core, 24-thread is named 3900X, and that is kind of borrowing a little bit from the Threadripper naming scheme, so I have to assume this is probably going to be called the 3950X for the 16-core Ryzen part, and with that 3900X costing $499, I'd be curious to see your guys' thoughts and opinions down in the comments below on what you think the pricing is going to be for the 16-core once it's revealed. I mean, it could be $599, it could go as high as $750. I don't see it going over $750. But yeah, it just really remains to be seen. But as I said, I do look forward to your guys' feedback, opinions, and everything on this down in the comments below. And hopefully we get some information soon on, this 16-core part for Ryzen, which we know for sure is coming. Next up, we've got information on Wolfenstein Youngblood, which was announced by NVIDIA that is going to be supporting real-time ray tracing and NVIDIA adaptive shading. So if you were excited for Wolfenstein Youngblood and you're an RTX owner, then you've got a little bit more to be excited about for now. When this was first revealed, they didn't say whether or not it was going to be ray trace shadows, global illumination, or real-time reflections. However, thanks to a savvy YouTube user by the name of CYCU1, he did a comparison between two different trailers that were shown off over the weekend. One that was just the reveal story trailer for Wolfenstein Youngblood that was released by Bethesda, and the other one was the RTX trailer published by NVIDIA. So you can basically go between these and look at them side by side, and you can see that there are drastic differences between the two, and it does appear evident that the RTX version is actually using global illumination. So it's using that's basically the form of ray tracing that they're using here. It's not going to be ray trace shadows or reflections that we can see right now. It just mostly seems bound to the lighting, similar to what we saw with Metro Exodus. But I love the Wolfenstein series. I'm an RTX owner, so I'll definitely play this game, and we'll be testing and trying out the ray traced global illumination once the game does finally become available. I'll have this comparison video linked down below along with all the rest of the sources if you want to go ahead and watch the entire thing. Last up, but certainly not least, Ubisoft is currently rumored after they accidentally leaked a placeholder on their website for a premium pass of sorts called Ubisoft Pass Premium, which, I don't know, doesn't really roll off the tongue as well as Premium Pass. Ubisoft Pass Premium, I don't know, sounds kind of weird. Let me know what you think. But, we don't, like I said, we don't have any information on this right now. This is just kind of rumored. There was a placeholder put over on the Ubisoft website, which has since been taken down. And basically, it would kind of point to, maybe them running a premium pass similar to what Origin Access has and how they bumped it up to the Origin Premier memberships last year. I think that is a likelihood, and this is something I've actually kind of been waiting for. I would love to see Ubisoft do one of these because they've got a pretty good backlog of titles. I mean, just think about getting something like this, $100 a year, let's say. I'm just throwing that number out there because that's what Origin Access Premier costs. $100 a year, you get a back catalog of all the games, and when the new games come out, you usually get them a week or 10 days before the game is actually released. So if Ubisoft did something like this, I know we like to give Ubisoft a lot of shit, but I play pretty much all their games. I play the Far Cry games, I play the Tom Clancy games, the Rainbow Sixes, Breakpoint or Wildlands or whatever, Splinter Cell games, pretty much anything like that, any type of their main titles that come out, I usually end up playing them, and there's usually like 3 or 4 per year roughly. Watch Dogs you can also throw into that as well, so I usually buy 3 or 4 Ubisoft titles a year at $60 a pop. And if they do this like Origin Access Premier, where it includes like season passes and all the extra content, it would pretty much pay for itself easily if you're going to plan to pay all those games. But we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves here. As I said, this is just a rumor at this point in time, but I would be curious to see what you think about it down in the comments, if this is something you would consider picking up, especially when you have to consider the fact that it would probably also include all the previous games, so you would like instantly get access to every single Assassin's Creed game, every Far Cry game, every Splinter Cell game. That's a ton of games that you would get access to, as well as any of the new titles that are coming out, let alone if they give you early access and all of the DLCs and expansion packs free of charge on top, just whatever your membership costs per year, obviously. But I would definitely be excited to go ahead and pick this up pretty much day one if it was made available. But I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here, guys. As always, I do look forward to the discussion continuing down below, especially on the Ryzen 16-core part, which is all but pretty much confirmed by AMD. Now, I mean, it is confirmed. They were showing it off. It was running. It's coming. It's not like a rumor or something like that. It's a fact. It is coming. So I think as far as the Dord TV is concerned, I know a lot of people were giving him shit over the weekend ever since this AMD announcement. But I kind of think it's undue because he was right about a lot more things than he was wrong about. There was a couple of things that were off here and there, like The 16-core Ryzen was meant to be $500. It ended up being the 12-core was $500. So some of the prices are getting shifted. Some of the frequencies were off by a few megahertz here or there. But honestly, with the number of things that he got right that we had no idea were coming at all, I think he was pretty much on point and did the best that he could with the information that he had. And he really is just, kind of at the behest of the information he was given. And, he chose what to do with it was to release it online. And then it was up to you whether or not you wanted to believe it or not and get overhyped about something one way or the other. I was definitely excited to see something like a 16-core at $500. But, it's at the end of the day, it's not that bad because that 12-core still looks like an absolute monster. And the 16-core being roughly 35% faster than the previous generation 16-core on Threadripper is just mental. And also on top of that, the 15% IPC uplift is way more than what was rumored. IPC was rumored to be like a 5% uplift on previous generation with only a few percentage uplift in terms of clock speed. So I would much rather have that 15% IPC instruction per clock uplift than, running at 4.8, 4.9 gigahertz, even 5 gigahertz. 4.6 at, with that 15% uplift on 12 cores would be absolutely fine for me. And that would still be a 9900K replacement in my eyes. So we'll just have to wait and see on that. We'll definitely be testing all the Ryzen parts, the Navi parts, as soon as they become available and doing comparisons with lots of different CPUs and GPUs. So make sure that you are subscribed for that content. And as always, thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, and ringing the notification bell. I'll see you tomorrow for another video. Ta-ra.